Here we are asked to find three derivatives involving inverse trigonometric functions. For part A, we have f of x equals the inverse sine of x cubed. Okay, well, let's bring up the derivative of arcsine just as a reminder. Recall that the derivative of arcsine of x is 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. Okay, well, f prime of x then is, let's take this derivative. 1 over the square root of 1 minus, well, it's not x squared, it's whatever's inside this arcsine up here. In this case, it's x cubed squared times, now we're doing the chain rule, the derivative of the inside, 3x squared. All right, so we're using the chain rule here in conjunction with this derivative of the inverse sine. Right? Once you learn the chain rule, pretty much all the exercises moving forward in some way involve the chain rule, at least the derivative exercises, that is. So, good thing we know it. So let's clean this up just a little bit. 3x squared over rad 1 minus x to the 6th. Okay, for part B, we have f of x equals the inverse cosine of the quantity e to the sine x. Okay, well, let's bring up the derivative for arc cosine. There we have it. The derivative of arc cosine of x is negative, is exactly the same as arc sine, except for now we have a negative. Negative 1 over the quantity 1 minus square root of 1 minus x squared. Okay, so again, we'll use the chain rule. So f prime of x is negative, so the derivative of arc cosine was negative 1 over the square root of 1 minus whatever is inside the arc cosine. In this case, it's e to the sine x. So I'll write e to the sine x, and then that will all be squared. E to the sine x quantity squared. All right. Now we apply the chain rule, the derivative of this inside part here. Well, the derivative of e to the sine x is e to the sine x again, times now the derivative of this inside part, derivative of sine x is cos x. So what a wonderful application of the chain rule we have here. Let's clean this up just a little bit. It's still negative. We can put this, how about this, cos x e to the sine x up top. And then down below, we will just simply say square root of 1 minus e to the 2 sine x. Condense that a little bit. There we go. How about you try part C? We have f of x equals cosine of arcsine of x. So pause the video, try that out, and then we'll work it together. Okay, again with the chain rule here, f prime of x is, all right, cosine. Well, the derivative of cosine is negative sine. Sine of what? Well, whatever was in the parentheses before is going to go into the parentheses right here. So we have arcsine of x. Now times the derivative of that inside part. So we're going to prime that. Well, the derivative of arcsine of x is 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. And one more subtle point that you may not have caught, sine of arcsine of x is simply x again. Because if you recall, a function and its inverse undo each other, leaving only x behind. So then this final derivative can be written as negative x over square root of 1 minus x squared. Okay, so now we're just having fun with derivatives. We have our chain rule, we have our inverse derivatives, we have implicit differentiation. I mean, there's really no stopping us now.